What does it mean to be authentic and to live authentically? Well, authentic living requires you to embrace the reality of your freedom and to be responsible for how you choose to live. Mm? In psychology, authenticity is more than merely trying to be yourself. It requires you to know and to own who you are. Yeah? To know and to own who you are. Yet, how we balance authenticity and well being throughout our lives and among the multiple roles we play usually brings many, many challenges. And it's supposed to because otherwise life would be very boring, and what kind of authenticity would we have with all that boredom? Not a lot. So, what is living an authentic life? Now, how we perceive our authenticity is a crucial aspect of who we are. Perception, keyword perception. Not only does it significantly influence the pleasure we derive from our experiences, pleasure, happiness, joy, but it also affects our judgment and behavior across all aspects of our life. Judgment meaning as how we criticize, because we criticize a lot, don't we? Interesting enough, if we pay attention to, we see that young children are highly aware of the importance of authenticity. You might remember when you were a kid and how important it was to you to be authentic. And learning to treasure originals more than copies. Children, they learn to treasure original more than copies at a very early age. And later in life, authenticity became greatly affected by our skewed sense of value, of higher value, given by the expensive objects like expensive designer watches or specialty coffees or all kinds of designer stuff. That's a skewed sense of value. Now, learning to live authentically is about understanding what it means to be real. So, what does it mean to be real to you? Yeah, because for a lot of people that have grown up in traditional type of a society, a lot of Eastern European countries. I'm going to stick with Eastern European because I am Eastern European, but there are many more societies and countries that define themselves by their traditions. And a lot of my friends and colleagues define their authenticity by the traditions. But is that all that is to authenticity? I think there is more to authenticity. Now, learning to live authentically is about understanding what it means to be real. And traditions are past and they're old. They're valuable as tradition, but how big of an impact does it have over your authenticity? That's for you to determine. Because authenticity requires us to be natural, realizing our needs while at the same time considering others' needs, and this is not very easy. Yeah? And for a lot of people, tradition plays a significant role in authenticity, and for some people, tradition does not play a significant role in their authenticity, and that is all right, right? But how and why do we stop being ourselves and being authentic? Is it all about traditions, that we are stuck into um, thinking, perceiving that traditions, it's all there is to authenticity, or is there more? Where Carl Rogers, most renowned humanistic psychologist, believed that being motivated toward fulfillment and self-actualization is a normal and natural human urge, yet it can be blocked when our needs go unsatisfied. And oftentimes this authenticity can also be not necessarily blocked, but unnecessarily what's the best word to use? Not finding the best word to use as to all of the tradition, hundreds and hundreds of years of tradition that need to be plugged into your authentic self. If that's important to you, it will be plugged. If it's not important to you, it won't be plugged. You will not be less authentic if you don't wear traditional clothes, that folkloric clothes that okay, I'm not gonna go the route. I'm not gonna go the route. Needless to say, people will do all they must do to survive, and this affects behavior and how we perceive the world and the people around us. And the people who have their needs met through positive, nurturing environments, they tend to flourish. Their authenticity will flourish. Because humans have a natural tendency to strive to become more authentic, developing in the direction necessary to reach their full potential. Just like plants that grow towards the sun. They're beautiful. So we as people should always tend to aspire to grow towards the light. What is the light? What is your light? So, babies, you see, when it comes to authenticities, we don't teach babies to be authentic. Uh-uh. Have you tried teaching a baby to be authentic? Doesn't work, does it? Babies are just simply are authentic. Children just simply are authentic. But they don't judge. So it's easier for them to be authentic because they don't judge, but there are so many more components into their authenticity other than lack of judgment. But babies and children, they don't fake anything that goes inside them. They are completely in touch with who they are inside. Whether good or bad, they're in touch with what's going on inside. When they're hungry, they cry. When their needs are met, they stop crying. Yet, as self-awareness develops, so does the sense of who they are, and then the narrative starts to develop. Yeah, they have a more expanded sense of who they are. So who are you? Now, the authentic parent ensures that the child needs are met. The developing child is free to choose their path, experiences a sense of belonging, and develop and realize their potential. If all the paths are clear and no difficulties within those paths, right? But in reality, love is often conditional. As children, we are shown more love and affection when we perform well, whether we get good grades or we win the race and we behave well, whatever the definition of well behavior is in the family we grew up with. And we learn that there are things that we must do to feel an increased sense of belonging and love. We learn that in our childhood. Everybody does that. And for a lot of people, this particular aspect can push them towards an inauthentic living. But Joseph reminds us that it's not true that for much of our adult life we put on a show. A lot of us put on a show, a lot of us don't put on a show, a lot of us strive to live an authentic life to become our authentic selves. But there are a considerable amount of people that during the day they experience only temporary moments where they feel as though they are truly themselves, saying and thinking exactly how they feel. Now we can't. We are stressed, so we can't say. We cannot say exactly what we think and how we feel during the lot of stress because we don't think good thoughts. So saying everything we think and feel when we are under a lot of stress, we're just going to end up hurting other people, and that doesn't mean we're going to be authentic. So let's just tame that wild anger, frustration caused by stress and overwhelm. Other than that, a person living authentically exists moment by moment. Now, moment by moment doesn't mean that they are not responsible. They are responsible, all right, and they're aware of the consequences of the choices, but they still have arrived to a consciousness of being in the moment, experiences life moment by moment, savoring each moment, striving to understand themselves, their motivation, their defenses, and the conditions of worth, while also being aware of their responsibilities and choices. Because truth of the matter is that responsibilities comes before rights. We're not babies anymore, right? So we have responsibilities. An authentic life involves following your passion and being intimately connected to your natural abilities, strengths, and talents. So what are your strengths? What are your talents? What are your abilities? Do you know them or do you know some of them? Now, authenticity and authentic self in psychology research looked at life being impermanent and the uncertainty that of life impermanence may actually increase the authentic living, because for many people the realization that death is ultimately unavoidable, then that values are subjective and the universe holds no clear objectives, can actually be the wake-up call that leads people to live more authentic lives. And researchers, psychologists, a researcher explored the nature of authenticity and self-presentation, and they found, surprisingly, they found that authentic people see colors more intensely. The colors are more vivid. And also, another few aspects that psychology research found is that authenticity may have personal values and add meaning to our lives, and we may also wish to be seen as authentic to gain social benefit. Well, all right, if that's your goal, then that's your goal. Hopefully you want to be authentic for no other gain than being authentic and having Gaining really comes with that, not being authentic for the purpose of gaining something, because you're going to gain lots when you become your authentic self. Now, self-esteem occurs when our true self, our motives, our values, our feelings, and self-perception operate congruently in our everyday life. And authenticity, or even being perceived as authentic, may provide positive benefits to our view of self-worth and view of our abilities, and also over increasing the amount of self-respect. So, according to positive psychology, good life it's not defined solely by the absence of psychological problems, but by experiences that go above and beyond the absence of the problems. We all have problems. If there would be no problems, life would be very, very boring, and I don't know how much authenticity would be there in between boredom. And it is boredom that causes a lot of violence in life. So we don't want to be bored. Absolutely not. Not overwhelmed, but not bored. And when it comes to authenticity, it's most likely when we are free and ready to flourish that we are authentic. So a considerable sense of freedom, not in a sense that you're free to do whatever you want, because you're not free to do whatever you want. There are rules and laws, and you got to be a law-abiding citizen, yeah? Because authenticity and living a complete and fulfilling life are processes rather than outcomes. Like success is a destination, yeah? It's a journey. Success is a journey, not a destination. Authenticity, it's also a journey, not a destination, a fully rewarding journey indeed. And living authentically involves moving in a direction that is most authentic to you as individual, and fully developing your potential, experiencing meaning in life and a deep enjoyment or happiness, including seeking authenticity, seeking excellence, and personal growth. And a person who, well, the way you will know you are more authentic than not, or at least moving toward reaching your authenticity, is that you will find yourself expressing gratitude, being mindful, engaging in challenging activities, expressing your essential self to provide meaning and purpose to your life. Now, renowned humanist psychologist Joseph suggests that asking yourself the following questions will help you tremendously in figuring out, are you authentic yet, or are you on your way to become authentic? Do you feel free to make your own choices? Well, I hope that you do. I hope that you're not a child and that you do feel free to make your own choices, right? And do you feel free to express your own views and opinions? Well, respectfully and in a positive way, do you feel free to express your own views and opinions? And this doesn't mean do you feel free to express all the criticism you feel you want to criticize everything up and down, left and right. I don't know. I mean, yeah, you feel free to criticize some, but is that all you do? Criticize? Well, no, that's not being authentic, unless you want to be an authentic criticizer, right? And then do you feel you can be yourself on a day-to-day basis? It's important. So do you feel like you can be yourself on a day-to-day basis? And if your answer to this is no, then I want you to reflect on one other question. Could it be that you are not being true to who you are? Now, this is a loaded question, and I'd like to caution my European comrades and their ethnicity, and anybody that has an origin that has their identity attached to an ethnicity. There's much more to tradition and ethnicity when it comes to authenticity, and authenticity doesn't mean you have to continue to, well, some traditions are good because they're healthy, but if some of the traditions that you're not in agreement with anymore, you don't have to hold them up if they're not true for you. Whatever tradition that is, some religious tradition, some other, what they're usually related, a lot of traditions that are usually related to religious ceremonies, or some sort of cyclical ceremonies, or giving birth, or birthdays, or baptism, or weddings, or things like that. So if some of those traditions agree with you, by all means, go have fun with it. If some of them do not agree with who you are today, you don't have to squeeze that into who you are. Why? Because you don't have to. You're not disrespecting any of that. It's just you don't find as much value in them as you used to find at some point some time ago, right? So how to be your authentic self? There's lots of practices that you can engage in, several practices and activities to be more authentic, while you encourage a balance between what's going on inside and what you express outside, from in to out, right? But in the long term, putting on an inauthentic front just because you have to stick with some tradition, well, you have to respect the rules and the laws, and you have to be a law-abiding citizen, and you have to be respectful. That's a given. We're not talking about that. Being authentic doesn't mean you get to do whatever you want and break whatever you want and walk over people. No. But in the long term, putting on an inauthentic front, just for example, I'm picking on tradition. Well, because a lot of people when it comes to tradition, a lot of people, I have been scolded, and other people have been scolded by being inauthentic because they don't follow all the traditions. Well, thank you very much. Can I adjust to some of the traditions? For me, for example, I'm not going to follow all of the traditions when it comes to eating. No way. Why? Well, I have lots of food allergies. So thank you very much. I'll respect all of the traditions, but I don't have to eat that food, right? So, and whichever way this is going to apply for you, then that's how it's going to apply for you. Because putting on an inauthentic front is tiring, and ultimately it's damaging to your mental and physical well-being. Because in the end, you keep up with the Joneses. You don't have to keep up with the Joneses. You have to keep up with yourself, being who you are, your authentic self, nourishing nourishing yourself and being of service to others. Because in the end, the way you know you are your authentic self, you are becoming more aware of what's happening in your body. You are listening to your inner voice, to that respectful, nourishing, nurturing inner voice, not to the inner critic, because that's too much criticism, right? So listen to the inner voice, to your values, inner strengths, to all of the positive aspect to your inner voice. Don't put yourself down. No, no. We can increase your self-worth, self-esteem. And also know yourself. Know yourself, be yourself, and own yourself. So if there is a formula on how to be authentic self, this is the formula. Know yourself, own yourself, be yourself, and you will be your authentic self. That's easier said than done, right? I know, because becoming more aware of what's happening in your body and know yourself, it might be easier, but owning yourself, a lot of people have difficulties owning themselves. What does it mean to own yourself? Well, a lot of us, and way too many people, if you ask me, there's a lot of external expectations that we go about fulfilling. There is a need to go fulfill all of this external expectation, and here are what traditions come in, because traditions, well, here's society, families, other people, mother, father, teacher, minister, that tell you who you should be and what you should value. And a lot of this is important, and you want to listen to it, and because it's valuable to you. You're not going to reject all of it, because a lot of it is healthy. But when you get to the point where you know that part of it is not healthy and is not for you, then you move on. And you go about getting to know you more, getting to own you a little more, and it takes a little bit of personal growth, takes a little bit of coaching, a little bit of experiences, positive experiences that are going to positively affect your neurotransmitters in your amygdala, and that consolidation of the stored memory that is going to repattern a lot of the patterns that no longer serve you. And because by now, all of us have spent plenty of time trying to please other people, pleasing external expectations. We still have to do that at work. We go to work, we have a job, we get paid, we have to please those external expectations, but that is at work. At work, you have your work identity. You don't have to identify yourself, your authentic self, you don't have to identify that with your job title. Well, if you want, and it's all congruent with who you are, who you want to be, by all means, yeah, good. But you don't have to. Your job title is not who you are. It could be, but it's not. And knowing what your true authentic self looks like is going to take some time, because even in the process of learning who you are, how to develop the best, well, reevaluate your values, identify your strengths, having some transformational experiences, uplifting transformational experiences, it takes a little bit of time. But in the process of reaching your authenticity, it requires you to have a good understanding of your thoughts, your emotions, and your behaviors. And what you think and feel, it's also part of the behavior. So thoughts, emotions, feelings, behaviors. And if you struggle with this self-awareness, you definitely want to get in touch with a trained coach. If you don't want to get in touch with me as a trained coach, by all means, find a trained coach that is suitable for you, that you find you are going to have a good relationship with, that you find that you are going to be allowed to be your true self, a coach that's going to hear you as you are, not to hear you as you need to be. Right? So, personal growth into becoming your authentic self, it's one of the most rewarding journeys in your life. Um, it is. It is definitely one of the most rewarding journeys. And I've talked about this before, but realities, internal individual reality, it's different from person to person. Everybody has their own individual map of reality, and no two people are alike, and that's a good that's a good point, that no two people are alike, because if we all would be alike again, it would be a lot of boredom, and boredom is not healthy, not at all. A lot of people resort to violence because there is boredom, right? Um, but individual reality takes a little bit of time and a little bit of coaching to study your beliefs, to study your values, understand your habits, your routines, your memories, your expectations, your attitudes. Oh my goodness gracious, your attitudes. We all have attitudes. And understand our meta programs, the filters, how we generalize, the store, delete. There is so much that goes inside a individual reality. So with creating ease, I am not rebuilding, but I'm redoing this authentic self master class. I've been teaching this authentic self for many years, 15 years at least. So I am revamping this authentic self masterclass, and I am adding some elements to it to make it a bit more, um, to add value for your sense of accountability. Because there's a lot of neuro coaching involved in the authentic self that I teach. And the my neuro coaching involves feelfulness, which is my own proprietary thought feeling practices I call feelfulness, where I teach you to feel a feeling by choice. And then I'm adding positive psychology exercises that, so when I combined the neuro coaching with feelfulness and with positive psychology exercises, all of these three concepts are used to help you with your personal development and understanding of yourself from 360 degrees. Yeah. We don't just look at what's wrong, because looking at what's wrong, I mean, you kind of know what you don't like by this point in life. You kind of know what's wrong, not necessarily what's wrong, but things you would like um, to adjust. And clinical psychology, that's what it does. Psychiatry and clinical psychology, they look at what's wrong and they try to fix it. Coaching doesn't do that. With neuro coaching and positive psychology, we look at your strengths what are your strengths, what are your values, and we build upon that. So if we work on what your strengths are, we're going to strengthen your strengths. And by strengthening your strengths, all of the weaknesses will fall away because we're going to focus on your strengths and have them enhanced. And authentic self refers to being true to who you really are and understanding the core of your being. And on my website, this is how the page on my website looks like. When you're gonna go over here to my website, this is how my website is gonna look like. And of course, you are always free to reach out to me with all kinds of questions you have relating to this authentic self and what is involved in fearfulness, neurocoaching, and positive psychology. Because the rate of success my students have through this authentic self is, you cannot compare. There's no comparing. It's just, there isn't. It's just, this is a complete transformational personal growth. You transform into that which you wish to be. Now, it doesn't mean that all of your molecules are going to disappear. You're not going to have your own molecules, because it doesn't happen like that. You want to keep some of your molecules and many of your molecules, right? But neurocoaching is a technique that's used to understand the neurological processes behind your behavior. Lots of free therapy in here. Neurological processes behind your behavior, your beliefs, and your thoughts, which gives you valuable insight into how your brain works and why you think, feel, and act the way you do. So once you have this kind of insight, light bulbs begin to turn on and a lot of ahas begin to happen. And you want to have as many ahas as possible. Now, fearfulness comes with highly developed abilities and skills that enable you to gain the capacity to feel a feeling by choice, by which you're going to have the ability to generate a state of being. So, who do you want to be? Who are you, and who do you want to be? And positive psychology look at your strengths, your values, your motivation, your goals, and so much more, communication styles, and many, many more life domains, to help you focus on the things that make you happy and content, and to propel you to become your true authentic self. So by combining all of this and with very deep spiritual, transformative spiritual experiences, it is impossible not to arrive to your true authentic self. And in this journey at arriving your true authentic self, the stress begins to fall away. Your perception is going to change. It's impossible for your perception not to change. And when it's as if a bunch of draperies and a bunch of veils begins to go away, and you begin to see things clearly, with more vivid colors. Authentic self people, they see colors more vividly. But through that, through my authentic self masterclass, you get a wholesome approach to understanding a mindset, your feelings, your emotions, and how to use all of that to become more authentic and not just think of what your authentic self could look like, but actually become that, being that, experiencing yourself as your authentic self. So this is a big deal. This is not just theory. Um, from books, you can learn so many things from books, but experiences, um, personal growth and transformation and authenticity can only happen through experiences. So reading a bunch of books about your authenticity, um, they're going to be fun and they're going to enlighten you with some good ideas. And about a couple of weeks after you've read the books, you kind of forget all about it and nothing will be put in practice, right? So if you want to become your authentic self, to expand yourself to levels you never knew existed, that but which are possible, easily available to you, that has to happen through experience. So through creating ease, right here, this is what it looks like on my website, like that. And again, please reach out to me with questions you might have about this journey. This is a wonderful, wonderful journey. Maybe one of the most important and the most wonderful journeys you'll ever have in your life. This personal growth journey towards your authentic self. Um, I've taken this journey myself, and I would not have it any other way. Mm-mm. No way, no way. And in this journey, you get to embrace your unique qualities, and develop a clear vision of your personal and professional life. And you can inspire positive changes and growth in yourself and in those around you. Because when values, strengths, and actions align, when your values, your strength, and your actions align, you feel happier, you feel more resilient, and you experience an increased subjective well-being. Now, who doesn't want well-being? We all want well-being, right? And in addition to that, harmony between professional and personal values will enhance. The congruency will begin to develop, something that's called a flow, a smooth flow. Um, and your values will enhance your motivation and the passion, because you believe that you are making a difference. And indeed, you will be able to make a significant difference, not only in your life, but the difference that you make in your life, you will be able to take that and apply in the life of those around you. Yeah. So if I'm going to leave you with anything today, I want to leave you with this formula. Know yourself, own yourself, be yourself, to be your authentic self. And make sure to let me know your questions. All right, and you have the website right here to go on the website and sign up and check up a little bit more about what the course is about. But there is so much that's available on this course that it's impossible to note every single. Well, if a lot of the deep or spiritual experiences, um, it's necessary for them to come as a surprise, because they're going to be more impactful. And if they're going to be divulged ahead of time, if somebody is going to teach you something with a similar terminology, you might expect something that is different than what I offer, and then the impact is not going to be as significant. So Therefore, this is the very important reason by which I'm not listing everything that we do in every class, because a lot of it is also customized to your unique needs, to your unique values, to your unique aspirations. So it depends on who you are and what you want to be. It depends on what you need to heal, what you need to cleanse, what you need to resolve in your life. And yeah, a lot of it is customized to who you are. This is not the kind of course you take and you're left all on your own. No, this is a one-on-one coaching, and there's several different layers, several different levels of financial commitment depending on your budget. And I will make it work as long as you are committed, and you want to do this and you are committed. We will make it work depending on your budget and your commitment. Why? Because this is the most wonderful, wonderful journey you will ever take in your life. All right? So, your authentic self is made of know yourself, own yourself, be yourself, to be your authentic self.